What's up, Josue?
What's going on, man?
What's up, man? Sorry you're having so much trouble.
It's all right.
It's weird. Cool. Where you at, man?
I'm at my place right now.
Oh, cool. Where do you live?
I live in Glendale.
Oh, shit. Okay. I don't know why I was like thinking. Well, I mean, it's not too far, but I was thinking you live a little more locally, like around the West Hollywood area.
No, I was looking into moving, and then this whole coronavirus thing happened, so I'm gonna wait it out.
Got it. That's cool, man. That's cool. Hey, first off, thanks for taking the time to join us today, man. I think it's super cool.
Oh yeah, man. Of course. Anytime I get to help out, I mean, you've always been cool to me too, so it's like, why not?
Yes, sir. I mean, it's crazy just because the gym that you work out of Trinity Boxing, I work at a Fortune. Literally, we're in the same alleyway, which is bananas, bonkers. You know
right? Right.
Yeah, and everybody's still cool with each other,
Of course. It's like at the end of the day, it's just one big community.
Yeah, but sometimes I feel like even in the boxing community, like there's I have seen and felt some rifts here and there, but overall, everybody is pretty cool though.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a couple of bad apples, but like for the most part, like we're all in this. Like, if anything, this situation right now just shows that we're all in this together. We're all going through it the same thing. It doesn't matter if you're from one gym or another. Like, we're all having the same issues because of, this whole coronavirus thing.
Yes, sir. I kind of want to first take us back, like a starting point. The first time I met you was when you were still working at Super Rare. I think I dropped in to get a pair of mitts, I think.
Yeah. That's exactly what it was.
And I think you sold me the ring to cage pocket mitts. I think that's the one that you sold me. Do you remember?
Yeah, the smaller green ones. I remember.
The smaller. Oh no! I got the big baseball mitt pocket one.
The air mitt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you were thinking about getting the winning one, but that's like $500.
Oh yeah, I mean that was just a thought. I was like, I'm definitely not that rich to buy a $500 pair of mitts. And if that was the case, I mean, I could probably spend the same money and get like 3 to 4 pairs of customized mitts at that price. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And I know you're super big on the Universal martial arts mitts.
Yeah. So far they've treated me well. I have a couple of mitts from there, and they're really good, pretty reliable.
Dope. So I kind of want to go from. So how long did you work at Super Rare for?
At Super Rare, about a year and a half.
Okay. And then at what point in time did you decide to make the transition and to go full-time coaching boxing?
I was at a crossroads where I was, still working 5 days a week at Super Rare, and 2 days a week just wasn't enough to try to expand my clientele and learn and put myself out there. So after talking with Super Rare, we both decided it would be best if we just parted ways, because I couldn't do a shorter week, and they wanted me there for a certain time, and I wanted to be free for a certain time. So they had to do what's best for them, and I had to do what was best for me. So then I decided in November, late October, early November of last year is when we parted ways, and I started to just train full time.
Got it.
Yeah.
And so what is your background in boxing and or martial arts?
I started boxing when I was about 16.
Okay.
And I was getting into a lot of fights at school, so my dad was like, okay, we're going to take you to the boxing gym and you're going to show me how tough you are. And
very much like I don't know if you ever heard Devin Haney's story, but that's exactly what happened. And they found out, I was like, oh my god, my son is a genius, a boxing genius.
Well, it's like the Devin Haney story where his dad takes him to the gym, and then that's where it stops, because I was not a genius. They put me in the ring, and I remember the dude piecing me up so bad.
Oh my god!
And my dad thought that was going to be it. Like, okay, cool. He learned his lesson, and now he's not going to do it anymore. And I was just like, oh no, I want to keep doing this. I want to come back and learn how to do that. So it was good though, because it taught me discipline and everything like that.
Were you still in Glendale at the time?
No, I was in LA at the time.
Oh, you were in LA.
I grew up in I was born in Mexico. I moved here when I was about 6. So I've been here in LA for a while now.
Okay.
And then I grew up around like Santa Monica and Vermont area, by like LACC
Oh, hell
before
yeah.
it was, before it was that nice.
Yeah, no, dude, like, I mean, I'm a Koreatown native, so I'm very well aware of that area,
Yeah.
because that's kind of like the cusp of where LA, like K-Town, kind of cuts off.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But right now, LACC is super duper nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So I grew up around there. And yeah, like I said, like I was getting into a lot of fights. So then that kind of like helped me out a bit. And then I started boxing, and I had a few like amateur fights, but it wasn't anything like too serious. It was more like of a hobby for me. It was never like, oh, I'm going to go pro.
Got it.
And like, my dad didn't really want me to like do anything like that. Like he didn't want me to like, quote unquote, be a pro boxer. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but immigrant parents always want you to be better and go to school and do all that.
Not everybody's parents are like Oscar De La Hoya, like you're not
right?
going to do anything but box. I need you to run before you go to school in elementary school, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, they wanted me to go to school and they wanted me to do that. So I always saw it more as a hobby, but I always enjoyed doing it. And the funny thing is, when I first started boxing, I never thought of training. I never thought I would have the patience to train, the patience to explain things, because like when it comes to certain things, like when it comes to myself, if I can't get something right, like I get very impatient, I get very frustrated. So that's something that I've had to control. So like I didn't think that that would translate well into training someone, because obviously like you're dealing with different people, you're dealing with different personalities, different egos, different ways of learning things. So I'm just like, no, there's no way I could do this. And it just so happened that I guess people like the way I train because they keep coming back.
Okay. Just a quick side question: which gym were you at when you were 16, when you first started boxing in LA?
I believe it was in Pasadena. It was the old jail. It used to be an old jail, and then like they turned it into a gym, like off Villa Park.
Okay.
And I think it's still there. I believe. I believe it's still like a youth program for kids, and they can use it like an after school program where you can go box and stuff.
Oh, very cool.
But yeah, it's in Villa Park in Pasadena, and it's pretty cool what they've turned it into.
Cool. Awesome. So let's bring you back to when you decided to leave Super Rare, starting to coach boxing full time. Now, the funny thing about mitt work is that like there really is no school for it, right? It's like the oddest thing to try to learn when like you can't really you can't go read a book or take a class,
right?
Although Boxing Burn does have an academy. But I'm assuming you didn't go there, did you?
No, I did not.
Okay, so what I want to ask you is, how did you learn how to hold mitts? That's my number one question.
That's a great question. When I started to take training a little bit more serious, I decided, I was like, well, I need to I would look at all these videos, because like I would try to mimic what I saw in the videos, right? And I would see these videos, and I'm like, well, I have to get mitts. You know what I mean? Like I have to get mitts, and I have to eventually start doing this. So I went to Dick's Sporting Goods on the website, and I found these like title mitts that they had on sale.
Okay.
So I just ordered them, and I legitimately just started holding mitts. And the good thing about it was that when I first started training people, it was people that had never boxed before, or never had done more than like one class. So I mean, with all due respect to them, like they didn't when it came to mitt holding. So I think it kind of masked the fact that like I was also learning too.
Okay. And did you kind of let them know that was your situation, or did you just kind of go, hey, like you want to train boxing?
So the way I started training people was I was working for Apple at the time, and my best friend was over my place, who happened to be a coworker of mine, and she found a pair of boxing gloves in my closet. Okay. And I had never told her that I used to box or anything like that. And she kept bugging me for like a month or so, like 2 months, like, hey, like train me, teach me how to box. So eventually she broke me down, and I started to train her just a little bit. Like it was a little easier because obviously I'm comfortable with her, so I could tell her things
Got
in a different way. So then like when I started holding mitts for her, it was like she was learning how to box and I was learning how to hold mitts, and we were both very forgiving of each other because like we both
right.
we both knew we were very green.
Right.
And at the time, I didn't have an Instagram, even like a personal one, and none of that. Like I didn't really like, buy into the whole social media thing. So she posted one video, like one 30-second video on her Instagram of us doing a little bit of boxing work. And I had like 15 coworkers come up to me and be like, yo, you got to teach me how to box. You got to train me. You got to train me. You got to train me. So then like eventually like they broke me down and I started training people, and I didn't let them know like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing with these mitts. You know what I'm saying? Because like to me, like I have to instill confidence in them because they're already not confident in boxing. So I'm like, well, I gotta fake it to make it. Like I gotta instill confidence in them. So like I just have to go with the flow. So I mean, if you look at it now, like if you scroll down, like I know you don't have time, you're a busy guy, but if you ever have time, scroll all the way to the beginning of my Instagram.
I was actually just doing that right now before you got off the phone, bro. Yeah.
Go if you scroll all the way to I left those videos there on purpose because people ask me the same question, and I'm like, you just have to do it, and you have to get better at it. I look at those videos now and I'm proud of how far I've come, but I still cringe. I'm like, no, like,
of course,
like what was I doing?
Yeah, man. And were you charging them at this time, or what?
No. I was definitely not charging because, there was no way that I can, in my consciousness, like there's no way I could charge people for that because at the time, like I was super green, like I wasn't seasoned. I still don't think like I'm all that great right now, but like there's always room for improvement. But when I started taking this more serious, I was like, I need to immerse myself in the culture. I need to immerse myself in like getting better at this.
So how long? So this is even before you got to super rare.
Correct.
And how long were you doing this for?
I was doing this for maybe like 6 months, 6 to 8 months before I even started working at super rare.
Got it. And then in between that, you moved from Apple onto super rare for about a stint for about a year and a half.
Correct.
Got it. And then you continue to coach coworkers or whatnot, and then you slowly started charging like random new trainers or clients.
Right. Yeah. Eventually, like I started off. I think the first time I started charging people, I was like charging them like $30 a session.
Okay,
if that,
that's
like
fair.
An hour.
That's super fair.
Yeah, I believe when I first started doing it, and I remember a catalyst, something that helped a lot, and was the generosity of other trainers. When I first started working at super rare, I met Josh Pollitt.
Beautiful Violence.
Yeah, Beautiful Violence LA, soon to be, Fighter Boxing Club.
Yep.
And I let him know, like him and I got kind of cool, and I was like, hey man, like if there's ever a time like I can come in and like you can teach me a few things on how to hold mitts, I would greatly appreciate it. And I was extremely, just like someone is extremely nervous and cautious and a little bit intimidated of going into a combat sport gym, like any gym, like whether it's jiu-jitsu, boxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, like whatever it is. If you've never done it and you go in there, like you're going to feel some sort of intimidation, obviously. Of course. I felt the same way. In the sense of like, hey, like I'm trying to be a trainer and I don't really know what I'm doing. Like, can you take the time out of your busy schedule to help me out? And I thought people were going to tell me to fuck off at first. And to be honest with you, like, I was surprised, and now that I know Josh, it's like it's his nature. Like he just wants to help people. But like at the time, I didn't know Josh, and Josh is like, "Yeah, dude, come through. Like we'll figure it out. You'll hold for me. I'll give you tips." And that's how it started. Like that's how I started going to Trinity at first, just to. That's crazy
because that gym has, at the time Eddie of Lobos Boxing Club. There's a Hollywood Hino. There's Jose Granillo. Josh. It's such a stacked, legendary gym. Especially coming from New York, so I could definitely see why you would feel that level of intimidation. Yeah.
And I'm in there, and and the craziest thing is, I walk in and I'm not really like, sure of what I'm doing, and like everyone welcomes me with open arms. Everyone's super cool with me, and I'm just like, holy shit, like this is completely the opposite of what I was expecting.
Who was there on when the first time you went in there?
The first time I went in there, obviously Josh was there. Hino was there.
Mm-hmm.
Hino lives there. I don't even think Hino has an apartment in LA. He just lives at Trinity. He is always there.
Yeah, man.
Hino was there. And there was other people. Jeremy was there.
Okay, cool. Jeremy is the Asian trainer, right?
Correct. He's
cool.
also from. He started at the Trinity in New York, and then he came out here to LA as well.
Oh, dope. That's awesome.
So there was people there, and everyone was really nice and welcoming. And it's funny that you mentioned Eddie Arizola, because he was another guy who was like, yeah, man, if you ever need any help, come through. This was before he had Lobos.
Yeah, and I didn't know, but I guess Dylan, who owns Super Rare, is super good friends with Eddie as well too.
They're super close. Yeah, for sure. And I did a session with Eddie, and he also gave me tips. And like I said, like, these are people that, like, are seasoned and are well known and have been doing it for a very long time. And I was just like, wow, the fact that these people are taking 90 minutes out of their day to, like, give me pointers of, like, put your elbows in like this, hold them this way. When you shoot a slip, shoot it to their face so you make them slip, so you're not overcompensating for them. And, like, it's just little stuff like that like makes a huge difference. And obviously, like, practice.
Yeah, I mean, the community itself is pretty crazy, man. Do you know who Rashad Holloway is?
Yeah, that's Tony Ferguson's strike coach, right?
Yeah. And Rashad comes in once in a while, trains some clients here and there at Fortune, and we were just chopping it up. And he's like, "Yeah, bro, like, I see you working, blah blah blah." And he's like, "Yeah, man, if you ever need anything, just let me know." He's like, "Here's my number. Hit me up if you have any questions." I was like, and like, Rashad he's not just an average trainer. Like, I mean, he's really up there. And so,
right.
My point in saying all this is just, I think the really cool thing about the boxing / combat arena is everybody's so accessible. It's not like basketball where, I want to go talk to Phil Jackson. Oh, let me hit him up on DM. Like, no, it doesn't work like that, right? But in boxing, you can do that. You can hit up, your Justin Fortunes and your Rashad Holloways and your Eddies and your Joshes. And it's so crazy how willing everybody is to share their craft,
Definitely. I mean, the biggest one too is, like, Freddie Roach. Like, if you walk into Wild Card, there's a good chance you might see him just standing right by the ring, watching people spar and stuff. And it's just like, it doesn't matter how many people he corners and how many championships he wins with Pacquiao. Like, he has to be at the gym because, like, that's where he lives. That's his church.
Yes,
basically.
Sir. With that being said, before we move on to some other things, if a brand new trainer is listening to this, is having thoughts about, hey, I want to start holding some mitts, or I want to get a little more serious, but they're at the beginning stages, what is the number one advice you would give to that person on how to get started?
Don't be afraid to reach out. I think we just hammered that point. Because, like, I mean, you could watch, like you said, you could watch all the YouTube videos, you can, buy whatever mitts you want to buy, but if you don't do it, like, you have to just do it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, there's like you said in the beginning, like, yeah, there might be some classes that certain gyms or certain trainers give, but, like, if you don't ever just put mitts on and just try to do it, or, like,
this is not like a theoretical thing that you can do in your head. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah, no, but you have to, especially when you start to hold for, like, bigger and better, athletes, fighters, or clients, like,
right.
And you start feeling the pop of these punches. Like, it's a whole different ballgame. You know what I
Correct.
mean? Like, everybody is not going to punch on rhythm. Some people are very unorthodox. How am I going to catch this person's rhythm? Because that's my job.
Right.
It's not the fighter's job to catch my rhythm. It's my job to catch their rhythm. You know what I mean? So it's one of those, like, you really have to get gritty and really experience. So I guess the main point would be to reach out. You'd be surprised as to how many people would be willing to help.
Yeah. I mean, people ask me, like, if I'm willing to help them, and I'm like, I'll give you whatever knowledge that I have so far. Like, I'm not claiming to be this, like, great trainer, but, like, I'm willing to help out. Like, I have people ask me, like, hey, like, would you mind showing me how to do this or how to do that? I'd be like, yeah, like, this is how I was taught. This is how I do it. This is what works for me. But, like, at the end of the day, like, just like boxing, right? There's going to be different styles for different trainers.
Yes.
The way I hold mitts is going to be completely different than the way you hold mitts, than the way Josh Pollitt, than the way Eddie Arizola, than the way Freddie Roach and Justin Fortune all hold mitts.
So who would you say you're the most, like your style is most closest to?
I would probably have to say Josh Pollitt.
Okay.
Because of the time that I've spent with him. Like, sometimes I'll watch his videos when he'll post something and I'll be like, God damn, like I do that the same way too. Just because it's just like, it's just innate, you know, because he taught me how to do it this way. And then I'll catch it, throw a slip, throw a roll this way. And I'm like, oh man, that's vintage Josh Pollitt right there. Right. I would just say Josh Pollitt right now because, like I said, like he's the one that's taught me the most.
Got it.
But yeah.
So, you know, I was scrolling through your Instagram page and I saw a clip of you and train with PJ over at Heavy.
Yeah.
What's the deal with that, bro?
Oh, that was it. That I forgot about that session I had with PJ. Yeah. Like I said, PJ is another guy I met. Super. We wouldn't have enough time for me to say all the nice things I have about PJ. PJ is like super nice. He invited me over and he's like, hey man, like, you know, let's do a session, work me out. I'll give you some pointers. And this was him reaching out to me. Like, I didn't even reach out to PJ. That's how nice he is. He's
but
like,
did you know him though?
Yeah, I had met him working at Super Rare.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, he had come in a few times. We talked, and you know, like I said, he reached out. He's like, "Hey, man, come to Heavy. You know, we could do a session and everything." And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I'm not going to say no to like work. That's work. You know what I mean? Like that's, you know, anybody that would let me pick their brain on you know training, I'm always going to, you know, jump right at the chance to do it because like that's there's no value to that. Like you can't put a price on that, on somebody taking their time to teaching you like certain things.
Because every time that you pick one of these, you know, veterans' brains, like you might have saved a couple of years off of your, you know, your training time of learning something, you know? Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And even then, like, I remember watching a video of, well, you know what? I'm just going to, Eddie Arizola posted a video on his Instagram, and this is a perfect example of everything that you read is not always correct. So I read that when somebody shoots a pullback, you want to take a step if you're orthodox, you want to take a step with your right foot back so you're more balanced.
Okay.
And if you're southpaw, you want to take a step back with your left foot so when you pull back, you're not completely off of balance.
Got it.
And that's what I've read, right? And it's like, yeah, that sounds like it's right. And then I saw Eddie doing a video with someone, and he would have them pull back. And the person that was pulling back wasn't really stepping back. They were just using their waist and their little bit more of head movement to pull back.
Got it.
And he was just telling, and so I messaged him. I was like, hey, man, I was like, I've read this and I've read that. I'm just curious because, like, I know there's no particular right way to do it, but I just wanted to see why you have people do it this way. And he explained to me that the weight transfer is still the same, and you can actually come back faster with a harder punch if you use your waist a little bit more and you come right back, as opposed to taking that step and then having to move your whole body forward again. So it's not that Eddie was wrong and what the writing was right or vice versa. It's just that there's always going to be different ways of doing things. And like I said, it goes back to being able to, like you said, I could just reach out to him and be like, hey, I saw that you posted this. Do you mind telling me why? Because I want to learn why. And him being cool enough to be like, yeah, look, this is why I do it this way. And this is why I think it will work best. You know, like that right there is like you said, it takes years off of like learning the hard way or just learning in general where you're just putting in the work, you know, like it just makes things a whole lot easier.
Yeah, man. No, you're absolutely right. And, you know, Eddie's so incredibly knowledgeable. And, you know, when I first started to learn how to hold mitts, the first person that really ever took the time to teach me was, you know, Chris Triana.
Chris who?
Chris Triana.
Triana.
He used to work at Trinity as well, too. He hung out with Hino a lot. But anyways, he was one of my coaches from King's MMA. And he's one of the guys that first taught me how to hold mitts. But along the way, that's when, you know, and it still is, the Mayweather mitt work was so popular.
Right.
I went and got certified under Coach Rick. You know who Coach Rick is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that whole course, and so that whole system is like everything is just kind of like really structured, right? So my mind was so trapped into like, just a slip 2-3-2, roll 2-3-2, slip slip roll 2-3-2, and so my mind never went to, oh, you can duck a jab, you can duck a right. I can actually slip when they slip to the left when they throw a jab over my right shoulder. So it's not always this, cookie cutter program. So like, I
Right.
totally agree with you that we got to keep our minds open to, instead of slipping, we could do a forearm parry. There's so many different things
Right.
that I've never even seen yet.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty about combat sports. Like, it's always evolving, always evolving. Like, if you really think about it, like, Ali never did mitts.
Yeah, you know what? From some of the old school trainers, I would hear that a lot. Champions have been built on the heavy bag. Like back
Right.
in the days, we didn't even used to do mitts.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, Ali never did mitts, and Ali never lifted weights. All he
That's
did
crazy.
was run and body weight stuff and chop down trees when he was at Deer Lake and everything. But he never did mitts, and he never lifted weights because Dundee never wanted him to be too bulky. That's why he was always like a slim 215. I think the heaviest he ever was like 223 when he was in his prime, and then like afterwards, like, he got a little bit bigger. But I mean, like, that's like the prime example. Like, a lot of people like hail Ali to be, the greatest, or one of the greatest, and he never did mitts, he never lifted weights. And like, if you fast forward to now, right, like, boxers are doing like explosive like hit training where you're like, pulling things, pushing things, and lifting weights. Not that that's wrong. It's just the sport has evolved so much that it's
Of
just like,
course.
you just never know. You just never know what could happen next. So that's why, like, to your point, you always have to keep your mind open, because although the way you're doing it may be right, there could be a way that's even better later on. And if you're not open to that, you may miss the boat.
Right. So keep your mind open. Don't be
Yes.
afraid to reach out and
Yes.
surround yourself with better coaches than yourself.
Yeah. The biggest thing that I remind myself is that I'm never going to know everything, and that's okay.
Yes. I think that's great permission to continue to learn, to just get better, With that being said, so you started, so you had the influence of Josh, you had the influence of PJ, Eddie. So all this is coming along. You leave Super Rare and you go, screw it, I'm going to go full time with this. How did you start to grow your clientele and acquire these clients?
So I started getting clients because I created a social media.
Yep.
And then I started with training people at Apple. So some of those people still trickled over. And then, I met someone that was training out of Wildcard, and he was like, yeah, man, he's like, I'll put the word out. So it's just literally by word of mouth and social media, where it's like, I met a few people that I had made connections with, and we started to train. And then, like, through my posts and through just like meeting people, I think Josh recommended like one of my clients to me as well. And eventually it just started to grow, where like I met a few of my clients through some fighters. So it just depends on like getting your name out there. Like, it's just all about, hey, like, how do you promote yourself? And to be honest with you, like, that's probably the most work or the most help I need is in like the social media aspect of it. Because like I look at the way some of these other trainers promote themselves, and I'm just like, man, like, I'm missing the boat on this, because I'm not like sometimes I want to let my work speak for itself, but I have to also understand that at this point, like, I can't view my Instagram as social media. I have to view my Instagram as like a portfolio kind of thing, because
so what do you, so when you say I'm missing the boat, when I'm looking at some of these other trainers, could you first tell us like maybe two people that you're thinking about off the top of your head? And two, what are they doing differently that you're not doing?
I, I'm not even, I look at your Instagram, for example, and you're like, and it's funny that I mentioned this because it's like, I'm not even saying it because this is your podcast. It's just the amount of interaction that you have on your Instagram is like, you know, sometimes in the morning it's like, hey, what's up? Like, you know, this is like the morning message. And then you post like, hey, these the first free sessions aren't going to last forever. Like, you know, make sure you get up on that. You just have to pay the price for this or for that. So it's just like, it's that constant interaction of like, hey, look, like, I know you want to do this. I'm here. It's not that scary. I'm accessible. Like that's the type of stuff that I see. And obviously you don't say, hey, it's not that scary. It's here. It's just the way you just promote yourself is just very easy to be like, hey, you know what? Like, yeah, that's not bad. And also with the videos that you post of like the training videos, the MIT videos, the tutorials that you do, like stuff like that. I feel like I need to be getting better at doing stuff like that, because it's like, you know, you want people to see the improvement of the client, and you also want people to see that it's like drillers make killers, basically, you know, like,
yeah. But
go ahead.
number one, I really appreciate the nice words. Thank you so much. But the thing that I really try to like, it's not always about me. It's not always, but it's always about the client.
Right.
Right. So, and the thing I'm like, so like, you know, sometimes I'm a little hesitant to put up these drills or whatever, because for a lot of people, like drilling isn't sexy and drilling isn't what they want, right? Like they want mitt work and whatnot. So, but at the same time, like I do that on purpose because I'm sure I lose some clients over that, but I want a certain type of clientele. Right. So I want to make sure that I put up the content that's going to bring me people that are serious about the skill aspect, the technique aspect. So if I put up more videos of doing the 1,000 punch combinations, then that's what I'm going to get. So that was kind of part of my plan. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I always tell my clients, like, I'm not expecting you to want to fight after we train, but I am going to try to teach you the right way.
Yes.
So it's like, to your point, it's like, hey, maybe this session we're not going to do those 5-6 punch combos that you like to do, because we need to get that right cross down and we need to get that left body shot down because you're not throwing that properly. So to me, it's like, to me, that matters more. Turning your punches, dipping into that left body shot, bending your knee a little bit, transferring that body weight. Like, that is more important to me than you being able to connect a 6-punch combo.
Right.
And I feel like the client that doesn't know you and gives you a shot is going to see that you care. And I feel like that's the biggest difference. That might turn a client that says, well, I don't want to work with him because he's going to make me throw 500 jabs in a session. But they come do that one session with you and they're like, yo, FatBoyShrink made me throw 500 jabs in a session, but at jab 450, something clicked, and those last 50 jabs were fucking solid. So I want to go back now and get my right cross just as good as my jab. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. That's an amazing point, man. And, you know, like, I think we all as coaches will lose if we want to try to please everybody.
Right.
You know, but, you know, what makes one coach's pad work different than another? I think for the most part, pad work, I mean, obviously some people hold pads a little bit better than others, but at the end of the day, like, the really overarching theme that's going to separate, you know, Coach A from Coach B is, do you give a fuck?
Right.
You know, because nobody wants to go to a coach that, whatever, like, I'm just another cookie cutter client, like he just the same thing with everybody. You know? Yeah.
I feel like I said, like, the biggest thing is that will, I feel like, change clients' minds if they decide to work with you or decide to work with me, because we're not always posting that like super sexy like punch combo. It's like, holy shit, this guy really cares though. This guy really wants to make sure that I'm getting the most out of this. So even though like we're not at that pad work just yet, you know, he's really making sure that my progress is at the correct speed. And even then, like, when I do mitt work with clients, like, I think the most punches I throw in a combo is maybe like 4 or 5, because I think about it and I'm like, if you're in a real fight or if you're sparring, if you
Right.
get more than 5 punches off,
Oh my
you're
God,
not
that's ridiculous.
you
That's
shouldn't be
ridiculous.
sparring with that person. You know what I mean? Like, because then that's not sparring anymore. You're just hitting somebody that's like not defending themselves. So to me, it's like, 3, 4, 5 punch combos, boom, 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 and in and out. It's because it's just like no one's gonna sit there and throw 60 uppercuts.
No, of course not.
in a fight, but then again, you'll watch other coaches and other Instagrams, and they'll be like, well, they're doing it there. Why can't we do it here?
Well, I mean, and again, going back to my point, like if that's what you want, I mean, I can do it, but I would really feel like I'm doing you a disservice because,
Right.
This goes away from the fact of whether you want to fight or not. I just want you to learn properly.
Correct.
Because the thing that always makes me stick to my plan is, number one, I want to have a brand, meaning when somebody comes to me, I want them to know exactly what they're getting, So if that's the type of brand that I cultivated, then that's what I want people to expect from me, and that's the promise they'll get from me. And secondly, if they leave me because they have to move or whatever the situation is, and they happen to go to another, legitimate boxing gym, and they go, oh, like I've already been boxing for 5 years, and then that coach gets him on the pads and go, what the fuck have you been learning? Right? I never want to hear that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That basically, to your point, that's your product. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like that's your baby. Like if you get a client that comes from nothing, that's never thrown a punch before, and after a year, like you could show them, like, look how far along you've come. That's you. That's FatBoyShrink boxing. That's K-Town boxing right there. That went from day 0 to day 366, and this is the progress that we've made. So if they go to any other gym, they can be like, oh yeah, so and so trained me, and it's just like it's just taking pride in what you do, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with telling somebody, look, like, I don't want to do these 10, 15 punch combos, because that's not really boxing. That's just punch output. If you really want to learn how to box, then we got to get your footwork down. We got to get you turning on your punches. We got to get head movement, changing angles, doing stuff like that, because that's what really boxing is about.
Right. So if let's just say one of your client's friends ask one of your clients, hey, I want to start boxing with your coach, and your client starts to describe who Josue and Lions Only Fight Club is, what type of brand do you think that you built for yourself that they will say about you?
I mean, I'd like to think that, they'll say that, Lions Only Fight Club is a trainer that, cares about you, cares about your progress, wants you to do things the right way, wants you to, have patience, because that's going to be the biggest thing. I feel like
that's a huge thing.
Sometimes people don't understand that, like, it's not going to take one session to fix your stance. It's not going to take one session to teach you how to throw a proper jab. And that's not me trying to get more sessions out of a client. That's just the reality of things. It's like, it's the reality of anything. Like, if you're going to learn how to play the guitar, you can't take one lesson and learn how to play the guitar. You're not going to be, you're not going to be Eddie Van Halen by the time you're done after an hour session, So it's just like, things take time. And I'm always saying drillers make killers, because if you want to get good at something, you just got to automatically keep doing it. Boom. To the point where it just becomes muscle memory. So to go back to answer your question, I would just say someone who cares, someone who wants you to be patient, and, someone who, wants you to learn how to do things the right way.
Okay. Awesome. And, one thing that I ask every coach that I have on is, what is the origin story behind the name Lions Only Fight Club?
My grandfather, from my mom's side, when I was younger, used to call me cara de león, which means in Spanish, face of a lion, when I used to get angry, because I would furrow my brow, and like he would always just tell me that. And I've always had an affinity for lions.
Mm.
So when I started doing this Lions Only Fight Club, I was like, yeah, like this is what works. And then the Charlo brothers came along.
Yeah, yep. And they
And
really just like took it to the next
yeah,
level.
and I was just like, well, I'm not going to change it. And I mean, it's funny because sometimes I haven't gotten it as much as I thought, but some people will be like, are you like a huge Charlo fan? And I'm like, well, I respect what they do, but this isn't really based on Charlo.
Right.
But so that's why I started doing like Lions Only Fight Club, because it's just like, you know, to me, it's like, you know, it has sentimental value for me personally. And then it's just, you know, it's my favorite animal as well. So why not?
So, do you know who Mike Rashid is?
Yes.
Yep. So Mike Rashid, I think one of his slogans is "Live like a lion." Now, what exactly is it that people, you know, when they refer to, like, you know, say "live like a lion," you know, lions only, like, what does it mean to have the characteristics of a lion?
It's a never say die attitude. Number
Never
one,
say die attitude.
never say
Okay.
die attitude for sure. Like, if you really think about it, like, obviously you can equate that to boxing. You can equate that to everyday life. You can equate that to work. Like, whatever it is, like, you can equate it to that. Like, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it down the first time. You're not going to get it down the second time. But if you don't stop trying, you'll eventually get it, you know?
Man, that's what's up.
And I feel like sometimes, like, you know, people always say, like, good things always come to those who wait. And I'm like, no, good things come to those people that get off their ass and just fucking do it, you know? Like, no, I'm not going to just wait here and be like, oh, I'm going to be, you know, I want to be a great boxing trainer, you know? Like, okay, sitting on my bed on my laptop looking at other trainers throw combos isn't going to make me a better trainer. No, I got to get my ass up. And I got to, you know, keep going at it every single day, because that's how you just get 1% better every day. So
absolutely, man.
I feel like, you know, lions have like that never say die attitude. Like, they garner that respect. They garner like that fear, but it's just like, it's just not about, it's that having that tenacity and not giving up.
Got it. That's what's up, man. I love the story. I love the sentimental value. And now, random thought came in my head. My buddy, his name is Zahat, and he started this new run club, the Pure Zen Soul Run Club, and he happens to run it out of Lululemon out in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
And the first day I went there, I was doing like a little promo with water bottles and whatnot.
Nice.
And I ran into your client, Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah. She said, oh, like, she goes, which boxing gym do you train at? I was like, oh, out of Fortune. She said, oh, I train over at Trinity. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, oh, which trainer do you train with? He goes, oh, I train with Josue. I was like, oh, that's what's up.
Yeah.
So, what is your like? How did you meet that client, and what's kind of the story behind that?
The way I met her was she works with Jana, who's one of my friends. I wouldn't say she's my client.
Is that the one with the shaved head on the side?
Yeah, that's the one with the Canadian girl.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I see her on your page a lot.
Yeah. She works over at a strength and conditioning gym, and I met her through her, and Jana was the one that told her, like, hey, you know, I don't have time to train you, but I know a trainer that has the time and can take you on. So I started training with her. She had done a few Sam had done a few cardio boxing classes at a few gyms, but had never really received any like one-on-one coaching. And it's always funny to me when people like do those cardio classes and they think that they have good cardio, and then they get that one-on-one attention, and then they realize, like, oh, this is completely different. And that's I think that's the biggest thing for people that not necessarily just Sam, but like for people that do like cardio classes, and then you go, like, let's say they go to Fort or they come to Trinity and they do one session with either of us, is then to realize that it's like, oh man, like this is a completely different type of cardio than just hitting the bag for 3 minutes while loud music plays in the background.
No, absolutely. And on you know, the funny thing is a big chunk of my clientele are actually trainers. Like, they're not boxers, they're like lifting trainers or bodybuilding, strength and conditioning trainers. So I think they already like have different level of understanding of cardio and whatnot. But yeah, no, absolutely, man. Because the one-on-one, taking a one-on-one versus a group class it's a different type of cardio. Like, let's say you went to Rumble, like they give you an amazing workout, but it's also a different type of boxing, a different type of cardio than a one-on-one.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I also feel like that. I don't know about you, but like, it's a different type of like attention that you get too. Like there's certain things that you can get away with in a cardio class that you wouldn't be able to get away with on a one-to-one, because on the one-to-one all the focus is on you. So I feel like if you get a little tired in a cardio class, you could just stop punching, and usually the instructor won't really say anything, because it's just like, okay, well,
of course.
But in a one-on-one, it's like, no, the round's not over. What are you doing? Like, put your hands back up.
Right. Yep. You
protect yourself at all times. Like, if you get tired while you're in there sparring, like, they're not going to stop hitting you.
Right. So, number one, do you train any fighters right now?
At the moment, I just started training again with Jade. She is the blonde girl that just had her fight this past November.
Okay.
She works in the movie industry. So after that fight, she had to go back to work, and she works like erratic hours. So we haven't had a time to like sit there and do like a camp and try to find a fight. So right now we just started like training again, and we're not necessarily training for a fight, but we're fine tuning some things. Like, we can get your jab better. We can get your cross better. I can teach you how to set some traps. So when, we start getting ready to fight camp, like, it'll make more sense. So at the moment, no, I'm not training any fighters. Also, I don't know when we're going to be able to have any kind of fights in the near future.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, that's a. I was, I was just thinking today that, some of the people that said they're going to be having fights, I was like, these people are like sucking their thumbs at home, all pissed off because they've been training for months, and then now, this corona shit happening, and they're like, we're not even fighting.
Yeah, so it's like, it's a double-edged sword, because we have time to train right now, but there's no real point to fight camp right now, because you don't know when and if all this stuff is going to blow over, and when we're going to allowed to have any type of fights.
Right. So do you train, compared to your fighter client versus your everyday fitness client, do you train them differently?
I wouldn't say differently. I would just say that I'm a stickler for little things. Like, if I know someone's getting ready, for a fight, I may be a little bit harder on them in the sense of like, well, we just did 10 rounds. I still want you to do 2 more rounds, and I expect the same type of like punch output, or like keeping your hands up, or like keeping your chin tucked in. Like, these are things that like I still instill on a fitness client that just wants to get in a better shape. But if it's someone who's getting ready for a fight, it's just little things like that. But the training, other than the road work, I feel like it's pretty much the same. Like the road work, obviously, and maybe some strength and conditioning. But other than that, it doesn't really change too much, because you just want to make sure that this fighter can last for 10 rounds, even though it's going to be a 3-6 round fight, depending.
Got it. So there's your fighter clients, and then there's your everyday fitness clients. Are most of these people coming in for weight loss?
Some of these people are coming in for endurance training. They're coming in for wanting to do it because they've always wanted to do it, but they've never gotten around to it. So now they're like, let's do it. And then some people want to learn how to fight so they can get in the ring and at least spar, and then see where it goes from there.
Got it. So I guess the question that I'm really trying to ask is, minus your fighter clients, because fighters always have a very specific end goal. They have a fight date, they have a goal they want to reach. For people that don't have that, how do you keep your clients motivated, and what do they usually want from you?
So it depends. Like, if I get somebody that comes to me and it's like, hey, I want to train with you. My first question is, awesome, what is it that you want to get out of this? Because like you said, people can come and have different types of goals. So if someone says, well, I want to lose some weight, I always ask them, like, well, how does your diet look? Because we can train for 15 rounds, but if you're eating, like crap once we leave, then it doesn't really matter. So it just depends on what their goals are. So if someone just wants to get better at boxing, it could be that, like, hey, like, we couldn't do this combo when we first started, but look, now you're just doing this combo and we're able to add to it. Or, hey, you weren't able to do 6 rounds before and now we're at 8 rounds and you're starting to get tired. So it's just like, it's little differences like that where it's just like, well, we're doing 2.5-minute rounds right now. Let's train for 3-minute rounds this time and see how you do there. It's just little finish lines like that can keep a person motivated. And then once they like see themselves also, that I think that's huge. I always ask for permission to record someone. I always ask for permission to record someone, and I always ask for permission to post it, because sometimes people don't want that posted, But yes. I feel like just recording something, not even having to post it, but just recording something and showing it to them and be like, look, this is what you look like. 6 weeks ago, you couldn't do this. Like, that to me is like huge. And that to the client, for the most part, is huge too, because they're like, wow, like, this is my hard work being shown back to me on video. And like, obviously there's no lie to that. Like, that's what you can see.
Right. This is evidence. This is not my thoughts.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you can clearly see from A to B, there is a massive difference.
Exactly.
Now, one last thing I want to ask you is, as a trainer, how important do you think it is to be personable? Because let's just say you were a fighter, you had great credentials, great fight record, like, let's just say you were promoted by Top Ranker, Golden Boy, and then you have the knowledge, you have the skill set, and yada yada. I mean, you have all the bells and whistles to be an amazing boxing coach, yet your personality is a little
flat
off. How important do you think that factor is to becoming an amazing boxing coach?
I think it depends on the person. So now, if someone is trying to become a better boxer, they might look past that, because they may think, hey, look, like, this guy, is dull, but he knows a lot and I can improve. But also the other side of the coin is like, you know what, like, it's not worth it to me because this person is dull. So it's like it's a double-edged sword. I think being personable to the extent of, like, being somewhat welcoming, but then you have to be careful with that line too, because you also have to be honest with your client. So you don't want them to think that you're too personable. And then when you're honest with them about something, you end up hurting their feelings, because they might think that, oh, I thought we were friends. You know what I mean?
Got it. Yeah, man. That's a very hard line to draw for some people.
Because it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where you're like, this person is my product. Like, this person is like, they came from me. So it could be the same thing. Like, yes, this client is paying me to help them become a better boxer. It doesn't mean that after 3 sessions, I'm going to put them in the ring because they want to spar.
Right.
Like, I've turned people down, and I'll be like, I'll give you your money back. I'm not going to name names. So, but I've turned people down, and I've told them I can give you your money back, because they've told me, like, well, I'm paying you, so if I want to spar, I'm going to spar. And I'll be like, okay, well, that's not how things work here. So I can give you your money back, and you can go spar somewhere else, because, like, you're not ready to go in there. And I feel like that's a big thing too. Like, people sometimes, oh, well, this person's paying me, so I guess I should just let them do whatever they want. And that's not the case, because, like everyone says, you don't get to play boxing. It's not like, oh, like, we're going to go in here and just have some fun. Like, no, someone's going to get in there and knock your head off. And then, things can get really serious after that.
Yeah, there's a reason why they say, you don't play boxing, and this is one business where the client isn't always right.
Yes, well, technically the customer isn't always right, but we've been in this society, we've been taught that, but technically the customer isn't always right.
Right, but I'm talking about according to American
Right?
standards,
Yeah.
the customer is always right. Because if you go to other countries, that's not always
No,
the
it's
case.
not.
But especially when it comes to boxing, like I'm not gonna put somebody else's life in jeopardy just so that you can feel cool about
Right.
sparring. You know what I
Right.
mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, there's a question that I like to ask every person that comes on here, which is, name me. Obviously, you follow a lot of boxing trainers on Instagram,
Yeah.
correct? Okay, cool. Regardless of skill level, whether they train fighters or stylistically, whatever, like none of that matters. 3 coaches that you love watching hold pads.
Josh Pollitt, Beautiful Violence. Kevin Gleason.
Oh yeah, man, that's definitely on my top list right there too. Amazing, South Florida.
Yeah, Kevin Gleason is another good one, and obviously Eddie Reynoso from head trainer for Canelo and for Oscar Valdez and for Ryan Garcia and for
man, he has definitely grown quite a camp over there, man, and I think that has a lot to do with the Golden Boy connection.
I think so too. I also feel that, I mean, if you look back at Canelo's progression from like the Floyd fight to later fights, and then like I think the Cotto fight was like a huge coming out party, like defensively for him and everything like that. So I feel like other fighters are seeing that too, where it's like he's not just a one-trick pony. Like the evolution of Canelo Alvarez over the years is huge, and he's only 30. So he's getting these guys that are really young, like Oscar Valdez, like Ryan Garcia, aka Abercrombie and Fist.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's a new one, bro.
patent pending.
I did not know that, bro. That's crazy.
And Luis La Pantera Neri is just gonna start with him. He used to be with.
Is that the Cuban guy that just fought?
He was supposed to fight, but he didn't make weight, and that was his last fight with Freddie Roach, and then he left Roach's camp, and now he's gonna start training with the Canelo camp. So I mean, no, the guy you're thinking about is Elvis Rodriguez, he's I think Dominican, isn't he, or something like that?
Like he's kind of
yeah. Okay. He's still with Freddie. He's another good southpaw too, though. Freddie always has this thing with southpaws that he just loves to train, and that guy's a really good southpaw. He's young too.
Dope.
But as you can tell, I watch a lot of boxing too.
I can see that. I can definitely see that, man. I mean, like you're in the business. Yeah. You want to get better. You want to watch other people. That makes complete sense, bro. That makes complete sense. And my very last question is, hold up. So it was Eddie Reynoso, Kevin Gleason,
and Josh Pollitt,
and Beautiful Violence.
Beautiful Violence, LA.
Cool. Wow. You know what? After maybe about like 10, I think what I'm going to do after about every 10 episodes, I'm going to come up with like a top 5 list, because there definitely are some
similarities.
Kevin Gleason is definitely up there. And
I
was going to say Pablo Escobar. Jairo.
Oh,
Escobar?
That's right, from Hit SF. That's another guy too.
Yes. Jairo Escobar is always like.
Oh, how could I forget about Jairo? Dang, that guy. And you know what's crazy? Other than obviously me knowing Josh and going to be working for Josh soon too. I've messaged Kevin Gleason and both Jairo Escobar. Super accessible, super nice. And
Kevin is Coach Kevin's super nice. I've never gotten a response from Jairo, but I know he's super busy, so I'm like, don't get that.
Yeah, exactly. But I've gotten a response from Jairo. Kevin Gleason, like, he'll post something, I'll be like, oh man, I love this workout, I might steal this. He's like, take everything that you can get, man. Like, that's how you learn, that's how you get better. Like,
I do want to say that I think when you know you're good, and you know that you're such a badass and you will continue to grow, like, you're not afraid to share. You know what I mean? Because I think people that don't want to share, it's only because they know that's all they have. Yeah.
And I think it's the same people that are afraid to learn something new, so they don't grow.
Right.
And it goes back to what we were talking about of when you asked about giving advice to somebody who's going to start holding mitts or wants to start holding mitts, it's like, never be afraid to ask for help. Get out there and just do it. It doesn't matter. Like, just get out there and just try your best to do it, you know, and it's not going to come easy. And, you know, just, I feel like patience and knowing that you're not going to know everything are like 4 big things
Yes,
that
sir.
like, I feel like would help out a lot for sure.
Yeah, man. I want to ask one very last question. We'll end with this. I think it's a very important topic. We spoke about this before too, which is when you first start off, I think both you and I, we've given tons of free sessions, more than I can. I probably give away just as many sessions as I've gotten paid for. I don't know the count, but you get the point, right? And I know you've done the same thing as well too. Now, to somebody that's just starting off, like I don't have any clients. You know, I wanna get better at mitts. Could you kind of explain to them the correlation between, you know, drop your ego, give free sessions so you can get better and get more content? Could you kind of drop the knowledge bomb on that for somebody listening?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like for me personally, when I started doing it, I knew I was super green, and even though I was like letting off to be like, I knew what I was doing because the people that I was training didn't know what they were doing. Like, that's one thing. But once I started getting into the actual like gyms, like walking in the Trinity, I was like, okay, cool. Like, you have to understand that like there's no other way of getting better at doing this than by just doing it. And in order for that to happen, you're gonna have to give away some free sessions, no matter what.
And when Josue says some, he means a lot.
Yeah, because I was just about to say, there's no time frame for it. It's not like, well, I've done 3 months of free sessions, I can start charging now. No, it's just, you just need to know that you're gonna have to do it, and you're gonna have to do it a lot, because that's the only way you can get better, and that's the only way you can get your name out there. Even if it is, hey, I trained with this guy for free at the park. Go in there, you know, he'll put you through a good workout. That's just the only way you're going to learn. It goes back to the point that when we first started talking, like, there's no MIT Academy, there's no MIT University, there's no, hey, by the way, we should probably come up with something like this. There could be some good business in there if we really think about it.
No. I mean, you know, I was like, that was one of my things, and I just got so consumed with a lot of other things. But yeah, no, we should definitely talk about that, bro. Like, that's yeah, we'll talk about
off
that
air.
next time. Yeah, but
yeah, I feel like the biggest thing, it's crazy because in this business, and I just mean combat sports period, the ego is so big, and I get that. You're going in there, you're putting your, you know, you're possibly putting your life on the line, getting in the ring, getting in the cage, getting on the mat. But when it comes to training, you have to understand that, like, you just have to do it, and you're not going to get better if you don't train with people that are better than you.
That's absolutely true, man. I mean, you know, it's a couple of things that, you know, that I wasn't expecting that became challenges when it came to learning how to hold mitts is height, right? So I'm 6'4", and a lot of my clients are like 5'2". You know, that's a huge challenge for me, right? So how do I, you know, correctly hold the pads for somebody that has such a huge height difference? Another thing that I didn't expect was the length of their arms, which is distance, right? Like, that was a huge thing that took me a while to kind of learn over time. Handling power without hurting myself, that's a huge, you know what I mean? So there's so many different elements that will pop up that we may not have been able to see through somebody else's video that they didn't mention. You know what I mean? So yeah, only experience will teach us that.
Like, just hands-on training is probably the best type of training. Like, you just have to throw mitts on, and, you know, try to keep compact, keep your elbows tucked in a little bit, try to take the least amount of impact off your shoulders, you know, try to meet the punch. But like I said, I can sit here and explain how to catch a punch on a mitt till the cows come home, but if you don't go out there and do it, it's going to mean diddly squat. So
yes, sir. And so leave us with one mantra that boxing has taught you that you carry with you on the daily.
To be a lion, you have to train with lions.
Oof, oof, man, that's it. That's a mic drop right there. All right, Josue, I really appreciate you
I
coming on,
appreciate you
man.
for having me, man. I had
Stay
a great
safe
time.
out
Whenever
there.
you want me back, I'll come in here and we'll talk some more.
Yes, sir. We'll run it
Sounds
back,
good.
brother.